juicy.
Topics.
You wanted to know.
Like juice for like babies?
How come we never had a kid? People always are asking us, are you going to get back together? This and that. People used to ask us all the time,
Constantly.
when are you going to have kids? Same thing with like the Sawyers and stuff. Anyone that doesn't have kids on YouTube, they're like, when are you going to have kids? So we figured we'd tell you why we're glad.
We never did.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's not that we didn't want kids. We actually tried for a while to conceive. It just never happened. And I don't know if that's something that's wrong with me or if it's something that's wrong with you or it's just not the right timing. But it never happened.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I think everything happens for a reason, and clearly we had some stuff going on between us. That's no secret. It's been put out there. Clearly we're doing better. We're, kind of starting fresh and being friends and, all that stuff. But no relationship is perfect. There, will always be, relationships that make it and don't make it, that type of thing. Now, we did consider having kids. We were never, I don't think we were ever like, from at any point, I really want to have like 4 kids. It was never anything like that. It was just, it literally got to the point with me where I was just like, I'd be cool with just like 1.
Mm-hmm.
If we had a kid, 1 would be plenty.
1 and done.
Yeah, just spoil the kid. After Jaylena grew up in a pretty big family, 3 boys was enough in my family to drive my mama crazy. So I just didn't want to put myself through it. But again, I always thought it was kind of selfish for people to ask when we were gonna have kids.
Well, especially after we like tried for so long and like nothing ever happened, and then it was like you take that test and you're hoping that's positive, and when it comes back negative, like it affects you, and then for people to comment and ask stuff like that, not knowing like what was going on behind the camera, I guess it was hard. And I think that's something people don't think about. And I get it. You want to know,
Yeah.
and you want, you would love to see someone's family grow and this and that.
And no one said it with ill intentions of like, I bet they can't have kids.
Yeah, of course that's not a thought when you're like, oh, you guys should have kids. And it's like, well, you don't always know the situation of what's going on in relationships, you know, what goes on behind closed doors. And
a lot of people try to have kids and they can't, and a lot of, it takes years and years and years for them to finally have a kid if they have a kid. But with us, it kind of was one of those things where our entire life kind of changed, I guess. At first, when we were, first dating and all that stuff, we lived in the city. We were working your normal 9 to 5 job, that type of thing, just renting a house, all that. And then we bought land. We started doing more of the homesteading, trying to get more, self-sufficient and, live that lifestyle. And then we got on YouTube, and, life definitely changed after that, and we had, I guess, more opportunities because of YouTube, to do certain things that normal people wouldn't. We could travel if we wanted, as long as we post a video about it. We could go down to the ranch for 100 days, as long as we were posting videos about it. If you have your normal corporate job, you can't really leave. So, in my mind, and I'm not putting anybody down, once you kind of get in that mindset of like, okay, this is my job, I'm going to work this job for the next 20 years till I retire. At that point, you're like, okay, I'm going to find a house, I'm going to stick in it, I'm going to stick to it, I'm going to be here, I can have a kid and settle down. I don't think we're at the point of settling down yet. Clearly, Jaylene has a van now, and that's a goal she's wanted to do for a long time, years, was to travel. I personally did a ton of traveling in my younger days. I was in a band and traveled. I got to work with bands and travel, and got to do some vacations and stuff as kids traveling. And if we would have had a kid at that time, you never would be able to travel.
Who knows where our life would be at right now. There's a possibility that we wouldn't even be in Oklahoma at all.
No.
We'd probably still be living, with Jared. And,
Probably definitely not off grid with no power and water.
yeah, and so it's like, we always say everything happens for a reason, and I do believe that, we just weren't meant to have children at the time.
Mm-mm.
And that's definitely not going to happen anytime soon for me, anyways. I don't know if Jason's planning on having any babies, but
I can't. I have one about every morning after my coffee, but I give birth, but never to a living being.
Just to a monster.
Yeah, crazy monsters you don't want to know about.
But I'm really glad now that it didn't happen, and of course it was tough back then. But looking back now, our lives would be completely different, and I'm looking forward to the direction that my whole entire life is going right now, and I'm definitely a completely different person. And at that time, it was hard enough for me to focus on everything I had going on in my life. I didn't even have time to focus on myself. And so now I have that time to really focus on myself and kind of do the things I've always wanted to do and not have any type of pressure at all. And just kind of live in the moment and be happy and focus on the things that I've always wanted to focus on my own. And I guess it's a blessing to me now, even though back then I felt like it was a curse.
Yeah, and a lot of comments in the videos and a lot of people telling me in person and, a lot of stuff when, we were back together, back in the day and all that stuff. People would always say, do it now before you have kids. I'll tell you that right now, because they had kids. They knew as soon as you had a kid, you kind of had to settle down. You still could do stuff, but you settle down more than the kind of lifestyles we're living now.
Well, because it's not just about you anymore.
Yes, at that point, it's about, at that point, and I always said, I am no rush to have a kid. I didn't even know, my whole, early 20s and before that, I never even wanted kids. I totally enjoyed just doing me and doing my own thing. And then, once, got married and stuff, I was like, I could see myself having a kid. My parents definitely want grandkids and stuff. And I was like, I could see this. It's not that I don't want kids. It's just I didn't really want them at the time. But I always said, if I ever had a kid, I think I'd be a really, really good dad because I would sacrifice everything for the kid. I wouldn't be, I don't know. I would, in my mind, I think I would do everything for that kid as much as I could. And, I think I'd be a good dad. But as of right now, some people, even say too, you're selfish. You're not having kids, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're kind of selfish because you had kids and you're still acting like you don't have kids. So that's kind of the crazy thing in my eyes when people really don't take care of their kids the way I personally think they should. And so because of all that, we're still able to live the life we're living now. And yes, there are people out there that are off-grid building houses that have kids and they're doing it fine. I'm sure they're thinking this is the best thing that ever happened to me, but at the same time, this is a lot harder to do. It puts a lot of pressure on you, stuff of that nature. But I think the fact that we didn't have kids, it was for the best at the time and everything like that. So I don't, it's always funny, those, what is it, Flexil tape, where they're like, bad relationship, and they slap Flexil on there and they label it baby. This could fix anything, and it never does. There's a lot of people out there that have a baby to try to fix the problems, but then it makes it worse, and then now you have a kid with two separate parents, instead of one family. And I'm not glad we split up and we had our issues and stuff, but I'm glad that a kid wasn't put through that if it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, I definitely think that, again, everything happens for a reason, and I'm much happier now, and I'm glad now that I don't have any kids, and if it happens one day, it happens. I never really was like, like before I met Jason, I was in a really long relationship, and even then, I never really thought about having kids. And it wasn't until we had gotten together that we even talked about it and decided that was something we wanted. So we were both, I feel like, kind of in the same boat in that aspect, where neither of us really ever thought about having kids, and we were both like, yeah, I'd be cool with like one. And then we tried and tried and tried, and then eventually it was just like, well, if it happens, it happens, and it never did. And you know everything happens for a reason, and I'm not glad that we went through everything that we did, because it was not great, obviously.
But I don't have to pay child support now.
But I'm happy with where I'm at in my life right now, and I wouldn't be here if our plans had gone the way that we planned them to.
Yeah, and I'll say this, so by the time you see this, you'll see the video already of like the chinking and stuff, and in the background when I'm doing stuff, you can kind of hear at some points like the saw going off, and I'm out working, so clearly it's not me. Jaylena did it all by herself. The van built for her cabinet doors and stuff, she did it all by herself. And at one point she was holding it, she held it up with like a biggest smile on her face, like she was super excited that she did it on her own, and she installed them all by herself and everything. And I literally did nothing. I mean, I helped use a saw or two every now and again because they're sketchy saws, and I didn't want to get it hurt or anything. But
yeah, I won't use the table saw or the grinder on my own.
But other than that, she did it all on her own. And I could say this, and it's not bad mouthing or anything, I don't think she ever would have done that before. Not that
I'd never used power tools before I met you.
Well, yeah, but it's more of, it's not that she's like Jason would do it or whatever. It was just, you just really, I don't know. I guess one, you didn't have confidence like you have now, and two, I guess you had this new, like, I don't know the right word, but I guess drive. I don't think that's the right word. I can't come up with the right word at the moment, but you had this dream and you're making it happen, and this is my van. You have a lot of pride that you're putting into it, stuff like that. And I'm not saying she didn't have pride before or anything like that, but for as long as I've known you and before that I know of, you never really did anything on your own. You were in a relationship or something like that. Now you're actually doing these things on your own, and you get a lot out of it. Now I think you have, I won't say matured, still immature, but no, I'm just saying she has evolved. You've gotten a different type of confidence, I guess.
I definitely am not the same person I was a year ago today.
No.
For sure.
And so, if we would have had a kid, and we would have stayed together or split up and all that stuff, a lot of this stuff, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing now. And yes, if we split up and you were by yourself, you had to take care of the kid, yes, you would,
of course, evolve and, be a different person.
But it's a different type of evolving, I guess. So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things for this conversation, pretty much, am I glad we didn't have kids? Yes. Am I kind of sad that we didn't have kids? Yes. There were things that, I think we both needed to work on in our relationship. I definitely, know my flaws and stuff, and I don't think slapping a kid in the mix would have helped anything. So, yes, I'm very grateful that we didn't have kids. I think if we would have been great parents. I think we both, know how we would have treated the kid, if we would have had one and stuff. So I think, it'd been cool, and, raising a kid in the atmosphere that we live, and especially at the time, the homesteading type of stuff, is a great way in my eyes to grow up. So, if things were different, I think it would have been fine. Everything would have worked out great. But the way it worked out now, I think it worked out great because we didn't have kids. So, it's one of those weird double-edged sword type things where it's like, we can only go off what happened because we don't know what would have happened. But yeah, I don't know. It's a question we get all the time, and are used to all the time. When you have kids, and then now it's like when you get back together and then have kids. So figured we just kind of like throw it out there, and I mean, we're pretty open and honest. We've been that way since pretty much day one on our channel. I take pride in having the honesty on our channel, because I think it boils down to we're just normal people. We're not trying to be certain characters. We're not trying to portray something. It's just we are who we are, and
Well, it's never been like, here's our glamorous life that everything's perfect and we never have problems or issues. It's like, no, this is
we're your everyday normal people.
Get.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of you guys that have watched, y'all been through divorces and stuff, and you know, maybe, you know, again, I say this in videos and stuff, maybe this was meant for some of you guys watching. If you didn't have a kid and you were just like, man, you know, just realize you wouldn't be where you're at right now if you would have had a kid, or, you know, normally it's this way where a dude has to pay child support. Sometimes it's the other way around, but if you're, you know, a guy out there and you're like, man, I really wanted to have a kid, didn't have it, you know, whatever, be grateful that you're not paying child support to somebody that you're not getting along with, and you can't even see your kid. And if you are in that situation, there's nothing wrong with it. I guess I just try to find the silver lining in everything. And
I mean, sometimes people have kids and they get divorced, but they can, like, the parents are still friends, and you can co-parent and
and it works better that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's the thing is, you know, in our situation, we're glad we didn't have a kid. In some of you guys' situation, sometimes the best thing was having a kid and splitting up, and you get along even better. So again, you know, this is just our situation. You know, I don't know. We get asked a lot, and we figured, you know what? Let's just address it and let's talk about it. And you know, I think it's one of those. You know, a lot of people are saying. I think a lot of people on the Crockers think we're still married, or don't even know that we had split up. Like, they don't know any of it. They're newer. But you know, I think there are a lot of people that, you know, want us to get back together and stuff. And to be completely honest, we are not rushing anything. We're not trying to make anything happen. It's just right now, I think we're just glad that we're in each other's lives again. There was a point where we never thought we would even see each other or talk to each other again. So really, what's the point in rushing anything? Is, hey, build the friendship again, you know. And I honestly, I think we're the best we've ever been right now. I think we can honestly say that. And so, I mean, I don't know what the future has to hold or anything like that, but as of right now, we're both pretty glad we didn't have kids.
Yeah.
I guess we'll go with that. But yeah, figured we would just jump on that topic. And unless you got anything else to say, I'm just gonna say, I'm glad we didn't have kids, homie. What a weird way to end it.